Hello, everyone. You're watching SK Live. I'm your host, Indranil Basu. Today we have Mr. Saba Karim. Sir, welcome to SK Live. Good to see you. You must have followed the auction today, and quite a roller coaster ride.
That's always the case, Indranil. Yes, I was tuned in. I'm happy to note that some of the domestic cricketers have been bought by these franchises at a pretty decent price. I think that gives me, fills me with a lot of pride. It means that in order to win the IPL, you need to have some exciting and some very talented domestic cricketers. I think that is one reason why Mumbai Indians are such a rich side because they have some abundance of talent from the domestic level.
Absolutely, and there were 61 slots which were open. 57 players were sold, and out of which 22 were overseas players. So, obviously, thrust was on the Indians, isn't it, sir?
Yes, except that what I've noticed in Runil is out and out speedsters. Most of the franchises have opted for overseas professionals, which means that all these IPL franchises, their talent scouts, have looked around. They have watched some of these T20 leagues all over the world, including the Big Bash. And from there, a lot of these overseas professionals have been bought by the IPL franchises. So mostly I've seen a lot of speedsters, overseas speedsters, who have found places in these franchises. Otherwise, if you look at the batting lineup, a lot of these youngsters from the Indian domestic circuit have gotten. Some of the spinners also, I've noticed that some young, exciting talent from the domestic level have got an opportunity and have been bought by the IPL franchises.
Some of the foreign recruits, fast bowlers especially, they hardly have that kind of experience of playing on the subcontinent wickets. Bowlers like Jai Richardson and Kyle Jamieson, they were bought at a very staggering sum, and not much of Indian experience though.
Well, this is also a platform where you learn so much, and I think the bowling coaches or the team management feels that that's one area where they can always work on. But I feel that the franchises have shown trust in these young speedsters because they feel that they do have the skill set to do well even in Indian conditions. And if you notice the past several years, most of the wickets, except for maybe East and maybe one or two tracks in South, and that also as the IPL progresses, that we find dry wickets. Generally, most of the wickets in India now they offer good pace and bounce, and so most of these IPL franchises they wanted at least experienced speedsters, at the top who can pick some early wickets and make some early inroads in the opposition camp.
So talking about experience, I think Umesh Yadav has quite a fair bit of experience, but he's bought at a very bought at a steal basically by Delhi Capitals. I am surprised teams like Rajasthan or a KKR could have looked at strengthening their medium pace attack, Indian medium pace attack, which they didn't. So that's surprising. Not many went for Umesh Yadav, such an experienced captain.
I don't think that is a surprise because he may be experienced, but only in terms of test matches, but not in the shorter format. If you notice, look at the Indian side's composition now in the shorter format. You don't see Umesh Yadav, figure regularly in the playing 11 or even the squad, which obviously means that Umesh Yadav's track record in the shorter format has not been very good. So I think all these IPL franchises have done their homework, and that is why they have shown more faith in overseas speedsters than any exciting domestic. I'm not exciting. I'm saying even experienced speedster like Umesh Yadav. I feel maybe they could have gone deeper and looked at some of the domestic, young and upcoming speedsters who have done well in the Mushtaq Ali or may do well in the Vijay Hazare or who may have done well the past couple of seasons. But I don't see that happening at this stage.
But Chris Morris, the highest paid player right now in 2021 auction. How do you define that? How you?
Well, you possibly can't justify, because in the end it is an auction, and the moment two teams are fighting for one spot or one player, then this is what obviously happens. Having said that, I do believe that Chris Morris has the right kind of talent. He's an exciting, speedster. He has the experience of playing in Indian conditions, has been fairly successful. And also as a batter, he adds, he brings more value to the side. That is why I believe the IPL franchise has gone for Chris Morris, and they're willing to buy him at such a high price.
Absolutely. But how do you justify uh, mm, Glenn Maxwell's purchase? I mean, he was not that effective last year for the Kings. This year they released him, and here you are. He's there in RCB.
Even I'm surprised, Indranil, because one has noticed for the past so many seasons, maybe except for one season when Viru was the coach of Kings 11, that he did quite well for them. But after that, he has been given such a long rope, but for some inexplicable reason, he has not been able to do that. Even last season, for instance, he was allowed to bat at whatever slot that was available for him. And whatever brief conversation I've had with Anil, he also mentioned the same, that we gave him such an open platform, he could walk in any time he wanted to, but somehow he's not been able to adjust maybe to the conditions here. The IPL teams still go for him because he remains a match winner, and you see him perform for the Australian side. He's such a maverick cricketer. He has got so much of improvisations, at his disposal. He's such a talented cricketer, brings so much to the table. He can also bowl those off spinners, especially round the stumps. Plus, he's a brilliant fielder. So, as a package, is excellent. But eventually, it boils down to you being a match winner, and I don't see that kind of quality at least in IPL matches that Glenn Maxwell has done for any of the IPL teams. So I think it is a big risk that RCB has taken, obviously because they wanted to bolster their middle order lineup by getting another overseas pro. We can only wait and watch.
So we have seen so many stars like Maxwell in the past, in Indian cricket as well, who've done exceedingly well. Has made us proud on so many counts. A name which comes to my mind is Yuvraj Singh. But they have not managed to show the same kind of magic, same kind of magic in IPL. What is the reason, sir?
Well, Indranil, it depends on the individual, how well you take it. And I think it's all about, going out and play your own game and trusting your own ability, having faith in your colleagues, looking at yourself in a different perspective altogether, and not for a moment think about the price tag that you have garnered during the auction. And I think it is easier said than done, because tend to read in the papers, it's on social media, people are expecting so much from you, even the franchisee owners are expecting so much from you. It is like during our days when we would go out to play as a professional in any of these English clubs. So all the players as well as the team management, they would only look up to you to get you the runs, and that is not possible all the time. So you need to remove yourself from that kind of an air around you and look at yourself as a match winner, look at you as a normal player, and go out and perform. But I think it's highly important how the team management handles you, as well as the way your colleagues look up to you. And I think if you're made to feel that you're wanted, then the price tag, I think it just vanishes. Then you're there as any other player who's supposed to go out and win games for your side.
Absolutely. I remember another character, K. Gautam. He was penalized by BCCI a few years ago for ignoring an important domestic game and was
trophy match.
And was interested in playing Karnataka League. He would be happy today, getting that sum 9.25, if I'm not mistaken, crore. Little surprising, sir. I mean, I know they don't have a spinner. They didn't retain Harbhajan Singh, but this is. I mean, how do you define this? His purchase?
Well, he possibly cannot justify the price tag which he's got, but you possibly can't blame the player. It depends on the franchisee. They feel that he is, in any case, a very useful player. He's not only a good spinner, but also a very useful bat, low down the order. And Chennai Super Kings, they are the ones who have bought him. They feel that he can provide, that kind of quick cameo at the lower order, and who can obviously win some games for them. That is why they have gone for him. But having said that, his past performances, does not really, paint a very rosy picture about K. Gautam. But I do believe he has the talent. He has done exceedingly well in very difficult situations for his state side, and I've noticed that he has done quite well in Mushtaq Ali also. So that is why I think Chennai Super Kings have gone ahead and have bought K. Gautam. Most of these IPL teams, I think all the IPL teams, they do all their homework before they come onto the table. And if they feel that they need one X player who can fit that slot, they really go for it. And they keep that purse handy to buy that particular player. And I think that is what has happened again in this year's auction.
But what I really like also about Chennai Super King, despite making that expensive buy of Gotham, buying Cheteshwar Pujara, and it was received with a lot of clapping inside that room, which is a great gesture from CSK, I think.
Yes, Indranil. I believe that this is a golden opportunity for Pujara to come good. He's been trying it all the time for the past so many years. Very few takers. He's worked hard on his game, and he's one player who always wants to improve. Now, since he's been bought by CSK, I'm sure Cheteshwar Pujara right now maybe in the nest practicing his T20 skills. That's the kind of player Pujara is. I'm very happy to see that finally CSK has bought Pujara. Only slot that is available to him where he can fit in is as an opener. So I think he really needs to work on his batting skills, maybe add some more improvisations in his repertoire, add some more shots in his armory, and really prove a point that he remains a good player for T20 and he can add more value to CSK. But it is such a healthy sign. I'm so glad to see that Test match regulars are getting an opportunity to showcase their talent even in T20.
Absolutely, and they say offense is an extension of defense. So someone who can defend the ball well can also hit the ball out of the park, isn't it, sir?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Indranil. That's the basic of your batting. You have to trust your defense. If you trust your defense, then you can become an attacking player, which means that your technique is excellent, and you can negotiate all kinds of deliveries, and you're in the right frame of mind to play some more scoring shots. And I think that may hold true for Pujara in this season's IPL.
I would have been really happier if Hanuma Vihari would have been sold also at this auction. I just when his name was when the auctioneer read out his name, there was no response, and I was thinking about that Sydney Test match, which he saved,
Mm-hmm.
and how ironic this is. You need runs and wickets in T20, and in that Sydney Test match. So I wish he was also there. He could have been considered like Pujara, but there was no taker for him, unfortunately.
Yes, Ibrahim, I wouldn't say because of his innings at Sydney. I would say because of his performances at domestic level for Hyderabad and for Andhra Pradesh now. And I think that is the reason why I was expecting Hanuma Vihari also to be bought, because he's such a solid player in the middle order. He's a very clean stroke player, and he can always add more dimension to his batting. And he's such a clean striker of the ball, so you can always back him to get those valuable runs during the middle order. Plus, he's an excellent player of spin bowling. In these conditions in India, a middle order bat would come up against some excellent spin bowling also. So he's the kind of player who has done quite well in the past at the domestic level in the shorter format. So I see has to be some kind of thought behind it. But at times I notice that most of these IPL franchisees, they tend to negate the good things that one sees in a domestic performer also. So I think that's one area of maybe concern. But having said that, the other side of the story is that in this season's IPL auction, there are some very exciting batsmen from the domestic circuit who have yet to play for India, who have been bought by the IPL teams.
But over the years, what we saw when 2007-8 that season, the auction happened, and auction happened in 21. Even the owners have matured a lot. They know what they're buying. They have become very smart with their buys. That shift has also happened, isn't it, sir?
Yeah, it has happened because they've got some very good talent scouts who roam the country to watch a lot of matches, who also look at the overseas T20 game that is taking place. For instance, even the T10 league which took place in Abu Dhabi. There are so many players who are available now and who are in the market. So there are several options that is available to all the IPL teams. And that is why we see some very smart pick by the IPL franchisees. Because if you hire professionals who can turn out to be very good talent scouts, you'll obviously get the right kind of result. And I think that's what we have noticed in the past 3-4 years, because most of the IPL teams have invested in some very good talent scouts.
Absolutely. And Sir, David Warner is another story. I mean, before he became a star in Australia, he was a star back in India. And because of these talent scouters, they went around scouting talents, trying to watch all possible T20 games, in whichever part of the world. That's an exciting job also.
Yeah, it is, and I think it is a golden opportunity for the overseas, youngsters to one get picked by the IPL teams, come to India and do well in whatever opportunities they get, and then they go back and become stars in their own country, or then they get to play for the national team. And I think a big role has been played by the talent scouts who have scouted far and wide to pick the right kind of even overseas youngsters for their teams.
So talking about stars, last year he was leading Rajasthan Royals, and this year he's again sold for a steal, 2.2 crore. Steve Smith, one of the top batsmen in the world in world cricket today, and this is how it is. I mean, how do you define that? How do you describe
I
that?
think it's a very smart buy by Delhi Capitals, Indranil, because if you notice Delhi Capitals last year's performance, they were quite shaky in the middle order. So they had Shreyas Iyer and they had Rishabh Pant, and there was hardly anybody of repute in the between these two players. So I think this is a good opportunity for Ricky Ponting and his support staff to somehow put Steve Smith in the middle, who can play a very pivotal role in putting up big scores for Delhi Capitals. So I think it's a very smart pick by Delhi Capitals. Eventually, it depends how the franchisee or how the coach makes valuable use of that particular player. But I think this combination of Ricky Ponting and Steve Smith does bode well for Delhi Capitals.
And Australian captain also, Finch. If I'm not mistaken, he's unsold along with Matthew Wade, who's also a T20 captain. He was leading Australia in one of the games against India. These are surprise packages as well, sir.
I wouldn't say a big surprise, because Aaron Finch, in the past several years, whenever he has played in the IPL, has not done well, and he has struggled against spinners. And most of the franchises are very smart now. They know that if a player is good against pace bowling and then in the power play, they immediately get the spinner on to open the innings. And I think that is one area where Aaron Finch has struggled. So I think that is maybe one of the reasons why no one has bought him. If you look at Matthew Wade, that kind of a combination, some of the IPL teams have gone to. There are several options available, and I think that is why they have gone for a wicket keeper and batsman keeper kind of a combination. And Matthew Wade hasn't done really well for Australia, so maybe that is one of the reasons.
Little surprising. I mean, Harbhajan Singh also, he was not picked in the first go. Then
but he didn't have to come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does it work? I mean, you've been inside an auction room. How does it work? I mean, when you give out the name, when you spell out the name, he's not picked. So is it like the owners will have to again request for that particular player? So how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. I think the last hour or 45 minutes is kept for all those players who have gone unsold. So I think that is one area where the IPL teams are very intelligent. They know who to go for in the initial auction, depending on the combination, and then they also feel that such players may go unsold, and so they keep that purse available for them. And as and when such players, unsold players, come back in the auction, they do have this opportunity to buy them again. I think that is why there have been some good buys by some of the teams, including Harbhajan. I see Karun Nair's name also. Not that he's been a prolific scorer, but still some of the teams, they really wanted to back him. And there have been some excellent success stories in the past from players who've been bought, who had gone unsold in the initial round, and they've been bought by the teams in the last round.
Absolutely, and this format is quite ruthless, sir. Yesterday we had this West Indies left-arm seamer called Sheldon Cottrell, and one of our viewers, Kishan, is saying that I give a lot of hope that he would be picked, but last season he was hit for 5 sixes of Rahul Tewatia of Rajasthan Royals. Yeah. This year he doesn't find a team.
I think very difficult to comment on such cases, Indranil, but I feel that the franchisee owners and the coaches, the support staff who are involved in auction, they not only look at the performance but also look at the temperament of the player. Does that player has that mindset and the temperament to come back even after this kind of an onslaught? Does he have the strength and the willpower to recover from that kind of a setback and come back and again perform? And if they see that there is something amiss, then they don't go for that kind of a player. I mean, that's the logical reason I can muster. But I feel maybe this may be one of the reasons.
But as they say, success has many parents, but a failure is an orphan. So
And it is a tough call, and so be it. I mean, if all these cricketers are professional, they know very well if they do well, they will get picked by the teams. And if they're not doing well, if there is something, if they're not being able to perform up to their potential, then they go unsold. And I think that is how that is one reason why IPL is such a competitive tournament, and it is the best in the world. And no wonder all the players they vie to get a chance in the IPL.
absolutely, and I'm quite I mean quite happy actually to see the way Rajasthan have they have got so many quality all rounders from Ben Stokes to Chris Morris. They're looking solid as a team and good, very good foreign recruits. Don't you agree, sir?
Yeah, well, they also wanted to add another, it's overseas speedster to support Jofra Archer, and I think that is why they got Chris Morris. That was one area of concern for them, so they wanted to fill that gap, which they've done quite well. They also got Shivan Dubey in the side, who is a young all-rounder. So they've tried to bolster their lower middle order, who can also come in handy and bowl a couple of overs. So they've tried to get a formidable setup, and they look quite a solid side, quite like Punjab Kings. They have been also very intelligent in their buys, and they've got David Malan, who has been in excellent form. He's done very well in the Big Bash, and they feel that he can do well even in Indian conditions. He's got a long reach, so he'll be good against spinners. Plus, he is prolific against seamers. Plus, they got this young guy from Tamil Nadu, Shah Rukh Khan, who did very well for Tamil Nadu in the recently concluded Mushtaq Ali, and he was instrumental in Tamil Nadu winning the championship. So these two are very good buys for Punjab Kings.
And sir, besides Mumbai Indians, which is the champion side, they made some smart purchases. But I think Kings and Rajasthan Royals were the two sides last year who kept their fans on the edge of their seats. They were superb. I mean, you can't win every IPL game, you can't win every T20 game, but they gave a lot of entertainment to the crowd, isn't it, sir?
They did, but Rajasthan Royals need to work on their youngsters. Someone like Sanju Samson, he's hugely talented, but one big score. Otherwise, I don't see any match-winning scores. And if that happens year on year, that does not really augurs well for Rajasthan Royals. Somehow I feel that the coaching team has to work very hard on him, because if you happen to be the captain of the side, which he is now, you need to bring in more of these match-winning performances. Quite like Shreyas Iyer for that matter. I think that's one area where Sanju Samson has to work very hard. It's all good to have one blistering 100, but it does not help the team to qualify for the playoffs if there are lean scores after that. So you need to keep churning out such match-winning scores and useful contributions on a regular basis.
Absolutely, but sir, there is also a thought process like teams like Chennai and Mumbai. They are very good because they don't chop and change at drop of their hat. They are patient with their players, patient with failures, and that's why they reap so much of benefits. I mean, don't you agree? I mean, look at Mumbai Indians. They don't change batting order.
I know, but they are in this enviable position because the nucleus of the side has helped them win IPL tournaments, IPL championships. All right, so they can afford to stick with similar kind of a combination and make little changes here and there. But the other sides have not managed to win championships so often. Rajasthan Royals have won only one. KKR are also in that kind of position now, so they're also trying to follow the same kind of formula. But the other teams have hardly won any IPL championship, so you possibly can't blame them of not trying to tinker with their playing combination. So that is why I think once you start to win with that kind of a nucleus, then you obviously want to back those kind of players. Hopefully, I think on the basis of some good performances, the teams which you have mentioned, they may do very well this IPL and they may end up winning the championship. Then you may see some change in their perspective from next season onwards.
But Mumbai, for instance, they didn't have a good leg spinner, so they did a really smart buy by getting Piyush Chawla in their ranks. They've really covered all the ends to ensure if there is any crisis, they have those kind of thought process going. They have been very disciplined, very very smart. I mean, what else can
Yeah,
we
and
say?
also because they had very few slots to fill because they are a champion side. So they needed one pace bowler to support Trent Bolt,
Yeah,
and they needed a wrist spinner, which they got in Piyush Chawla. So they were
yeah,
exceedingly smart in waiting for the right uh, for the right player to come up, and they were able to buy such kind of a player. So they got Nathan Coulter-Nile again in their side
yes.
to help Trent Bolt, and now they got Piyush Chawla. See, they invested in a lot of these youngsters, young leggies. Unfortunately, all those young leggies have gone to some other teams. Like Markande is with Punjab Kings, and then Ravi Bishnoi is with Rajasthan Royals, if I'm correct, or maybe he's also with the Kings 11. So they have missed out in buying such youngsters. So that is one reason why they had to go back to Piyush Chawla, who has the experience of playing IPL for several years.
So SRH also showed a lot of promise. They really picked themselves up towards the fag end of the league stage last year in Middle East. But somewhere down the line, I get that feeling their middle order batting, Indian batting middle order, it's little on the weaker side. So they could have done something to that at this auction. But I mean, what are your thoughts? Don't you think they need to really? I mean, Manish Pandey sort of character. You need to show his character. There are a lot of other middle order Indian middle order batsmen who they need in that position to win matches for them.
They do have the middle order batsmen. They need to come good. Priyam Garg is a very exciting talent, highly talented. He didn't have a very good run last year, but they have backed him, which is so good to see. You need the management to back such youngsters to come good for you. Manish Pandey is such an important player for them. So Sunrisers were not so good in the middle order last year because these two players did not perform up to their potential. But I do feel with David Warner fit now, they have Kane Williamson, which is a very good setup for them. And plus, if these two players, Manish Pandey and Priyam Garg, if they do well, Riddhiman Saha also can be, he can play as a floater. So they do have the right kind of combination. Eventually it depends how a particular player performs on that given day or in that season's IPL.
So in 2008, when IPL started, we used to use this phrase called catchment area, where you would promote people from the same region. When you look at KKR, there isn't any single Bengal player in that team, and I often wonder why is it called KKR. But how do you see that team? I mean, they changed their captain midway through last year. The captain had 4 wins, 3 losses. Dinesh Karthik, they changed him. This year they've come back with renewed hope. They have Russell, who wasn't scoring last year. How do you see KKR? I mean, obviously Sunil Narayan is an important player for them. He's done well, and they have an important player who's been their player and the coach right on McCallum. But how do you see KKR as an opponent?
They remain a formidable side, Indranil. And I think last year they did not do very well because one, Dinesh Karthik was not able to put up those match-winning contributions. He's such a useful player for them. That is one reason why they made him the captain. But he had to leave in between because he wasn't feeling very comfortable and he thought somebody else can do the job. To be honest, I did not agree with that kind of a decision. But you have to leave that to Dinesh Karthik's mindset. So I feel that they remain a very strong side, but their performers need to come good. I've talked about Dinesh Karthik in the same vein, even Andre Russell. I think these two players are an important cog in KKR's unit. On top of that, they do have a very exciting captain, which is Ian Morgan. So these 3-4 players, if they do well, they will pose a very strong challenge to a couple of teams at the top, which is Chennai Super Kings and Mumbai Indians.
So every year they start out with a sort of hope that they're going to really make it big, and every year towards the end.
Indranil, I'll get back to your earlier query about KKR not having any player for Bengal. I see those days are gone now. IPL is played in a very professional kind of an environment. So you have to give it to the IPL teams to decide what is the best combination for them. And if you look at some of the international leagues, the sporting league that has flourished and were highly successful, they don't necessarily bank on their homegrown talent. They search far and wide, and they get the best possible, young talent who can come and play for the club side. It has happened on so many occasions. I'm talking about some of these international professional clubs, football clubs. They don't have any player, from their backyard. They go for the best, and I think that is why you hire talent scouts who can pick you the right kind of players who can do well for them. And whether you're from Bengal or from Delhi or from Mumbai, you're in the same boat. So I feel it is good for the domestic players that you have a larger platform from where you can be bought. So a player from Bengal can be bought by RCB, which has happened last year. They bought that Shabazz, who's a very good left arm spinner and a handy bat down the order.
But when you look at some of the other teams like Delhi, Mumbai, they have some locals in RCB. You will find someone or the other from the team.
Very few in Ranil. I mean, look at Mumbai Indians. They have Rohit Sharma. Give me some other name. Is there anybody? And Rohit Sharma was initially not picked by. They have. So I think so. If you have that kind of a caliber in Bengal, I'm sure they will. Even KKR would pick a player like that. But I'm sure it may happen. There are some very good talent coming through from Bengal also. So very soon you may find some of these players being bought by KKR. Ishan Porel, not with KKR, but with Punjab Kings, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So maybe next time, and he's done quite well. So next time when he's in the auction, maybe KKR can go for Ishan Porel.
Absolutely. And talking about a team which really you would take our hope really high, touching the ceiling is RCB. But they just run out of gas every time it's towards the business end of the tournament. So this time they have again come up with a lot of investment. Maxwell is one of them. So how do you see their team? And they put a lot of pressure by buying. I remember they bought Yuvraj at a very staggering price at one level. At few years ago. And what lineup they had. They start off with so much of celebration that they are going to really go all the way. They've done it. In 2016 they played the final, but they couldn't win that tournament in front of SRH. I remember. So what exactly? How do you see the RCB team under Virat Kohli?
At times I wonder, Virat Kohli's career graph as a captain for RCB. He's been at the helm for so many years. On his own, each year he tries very hard. He puts in more than 100%. He is so deeply involved in the combination of the team and picking and backing the right kind of players. But unfortunately for him and for RCB, we don't see that kind of success story being scripted. Hope is one thing on which not only RCB but also Virat Kohli lives on. And I think that is why I think it is at his behest that they have gone again for Glenn Maxwell, because he feels that if we provide Maxwell with the right kind of environment, then he may do well. And Maxwell we have heard Maxwell talk very highly about Virat Kohli, and he being really wanting to play for RCB. So hope things click for RCB this time around, and they do emerge winners for the first time in this season IPL. With that kind of a thought, I think IPL has put up a very strong side. They've done their homework. They had some areas of concern which they've tried to plug this time around. But let's see. I mean, hopefully they should do well. They do have all kind of match winners. You name Virat Kohli, you have AB de Villiers. Now they got Maxwell. They got some young cricketers coming up from Karnataka itself. Padukal is there. They have added some more youngsters from domestic circuit. They bought Sachin Baby, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So they have a good mix of homegrown talent as well as overseas cricketers.
And this year we have the World T20 at home. So Virat Kohli better start winning IPL because and recently we won the Australian T20 series. Virat, and this is really surprising. He does so well as a captain in T20, and because he has the best team with him, probably.
Yes,
he gets the best team. So what's the secret?
Yeah, well, all the areas are covered when you're captaining the Indian side, because it has abundance of talent, it has abundance of match winners, so you don't need to do anything else. People are aware of their responsibility; they know what they have to do when they step on the field, and I think that's where Virat Kohli has to step in and explain all this to the players in RCB, because they assemble only a week before the IPL tournament starts. So you have very limited time to actually put forth your ideas and your views and the kind of mindset you expect all the members in the side to reflect. So I think that's the kind of homework which they'll have to do again this season, so that the team does well in IPL 2021.
What Delhi Capitals need to do to be as strong as Mumbai? I mean, they have all the ammunition you can think of. You have the best bowling, Rabada, the Rishabh Pants, the Shreyas Iyer. I mean, we saw that there's something, in the knockout stages they're not as strong as they should be. In last 2 years, we've seen couple of years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Indranil. They do have a very strong side, but I think last year I felt that for some odd reason they lost their steam, and at the critical juncture. So once you have qualified for the playoffs, that's the time when you need all your match winners to perform. That's the time when you need everybody to be energized. And I think they sorely lacked that in last season's performance. So whether it is the captain Shreyas Iyer, and I think captain plays a very big role in the playoffs. You have to lead from the front. Look at Rohit Sharma; he always does that. And then your main contributors, they also need to step up. Rishabh Pant, for that matter, even your pace bowler, all these players, they need to understand that is the not only at the league stage you have to have that kind of energy flowing in your veins, but also I think in the playoffs it's critical that you step up with your performances. And I think Delhi Capitals, they lacked that last season. But I'm sure that there'll be so much to learn. They would go through all their work which they've done last season. They would, I'm sure, go and analyze. They may have analyzed the game already. What went wrong with Delhi Capitals last season, and one can expect a lot of improvement in this season's performance.
I'm expecting a lot of Kings this year because of two people, KL Rahul and Anil Kumble. Anil Kumble being a very good coach, he's done well as a player. He's always made us proud whenever he's played for India. And KL Rahul is showing great traits of becoming a captain of India one day in white ball cricket. And he showed a great temperament, that sort of cool which we've seen with Dhoni behind the stumps. And they lost so many close games, and yet not losing your disposition, not losing your humor. That was very special about Kings last year.
Yeah, that is, KL Rahul comes across as a very mature, very intelligent cricketer. And one can notice that in his performances, the way he handled the team last year. His temperament was excellent. His captaincy was of top notch. The way he handled the side, his press conferences, the way he was able to handle the media, even when his team was under pressure and they had lost a series of games, he was able to handle his side quite well, and that was quite admirable. And along with him, the combination of Anil Kumble and KL Rahul bodes very well for Punjab Kings. And I think maybe this is the second occasion where Punjab Kings have gone and they have continued with the same kind of support staff. It has not happened with Punjab Kings, and I think that's one area where the franchisees or the team owners, they have to introspect. Why is the need to make so many changes? If you do have the right kind of combination, if you have the right kind of coaches and the support staff, persist with them, back them, give them some more space. It may not happen that you may win the IPL this season. It may happen next season. So you have to back your players and your coaching staff. Thankfully, they've done that this season. They have stuck to the right kind of combination. Both Anil and KL Rahul, they get along very well. They understand each other. Their expectations are very high. And Anil Kumble happens to be a born fighter, and he would see to it that the team does well this season. So I do have high hopes from this team in IPL 2021.
And like Delhi used to do. Delhi invested a lot on youngsters, and they were languishing at the bottom of the table every time till 2 years ago, they picked themselves up. Saurav was there, part of the coaching staff with Ricky Ponting. They're doing well right now. The team we are not used to seeing languishing at the bottom of the table is CSK. Last year it was happening all throughout the league stages. This year they said it's a team of veterans, but when you have MS Dhoni, I don't know, age is just a number. He's always set the right example. This year, how do you see the team? I mean, they've got them. They've got few youngsters into the side. They made few sacrifices. Suresh Raina will be back in the lineup. So how do you see this side performing this year?
I think the youngsters whom they have bought in this season auction, they need to step up and then they should be allowed to play. And I think CSK last season especially was guilty of not trying out youngsters. Very late in the season, they tried Ruturaj Gaikwad, who did quite well. They have some. They do have some excellent, youngsters in their squad. They have Sai Kishore, who did very well as a left arm spinner. Did so well for Tamil Nadu. Excellent economy rate. Such players need to be played by CSK. I think CSK as a unit has to rephrase themselves from a side of the veterans to a side which is blessed with experienced players, but also some exciting and upcoming youngsters. And I think that is the way forward for CSK. They have again gone back to Suresh Raina, but they've also bought Moeen Ali and they bought K. Gautam. So they do feel that such players should come into the 11 and start to perform like match winners.
Absolutely, and what we also hope that IPL happens in India. It's probably going to happen because the way we have done the England series, it should happen in India. So you have been with BCCI just recently.
I'm sure it will happen, Indranil, and it'll be great for fans. They may have it in one venue with one city with multiple venues. And I think Mumbai offers that kind of option to the IPL Governing Council. They do have the Wankhede, they have the Brabourne Stadium, they have Divai Patil, and close by they have the stadium in Pune. So they have 4 venues. So players can be in a biosecure bubble, and we can have the IPL in India. How long would you want to deprive Indian fans of watching IPL? They've had to suffer one season, so you wouldn't want that to happen again.
And probably allow a few spectators also to go and watch these.
Yeah, I mean, that is the way I look at it, because if you have allowed fans to come in for the second test in Chennai and even for the pink test match, so I'm sure that will work well for IPL also.
And
I'm also fingers crossed. I hope things work out well for IPL.
Absolutely, and it will work well for those who were left. Those were left in the lurch. They were not sold. They were unsold this season. Hopefully, next year we'll be back with more IPL teams, more scope for players to come and play IPL and make it more exciting. So, on that note, thanks a lot for coming on SK Live and sharing your thoughts. We needed someone as matured as you, and thankfully we're there. It was really a pleasure talking to you and getting a right perspective. I hope the viewers also enjoyed chatting with one of the greats of the game. Thanks a lot for coming on SK Live, sir.
Thank you so much, Indranil. Always a pleasure to chat with you. It was good insight. Good to watch the IPL, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure, sir. Thank
Cheers.
you, sir. Cheers.